Hi everyone. Last section we talked about correlation. Today what I want to do is teach you what causation is and talk about the difference, correlation versus causation. So first of all, let's review what we learned about correlation. We said if you're dealing with a scatter plot, a bunch of points, if those points kind of follow a pattern, then we say they have correlation. They correlate. So like we were looking for linear correlation. If we see all these points that are going all together kind of in a line, even if it's not a perfect line, if they're kind of sprinkled around but in a line shape, we say they have correlation. Now the difference between correlation and causation is correlation is just telling you what happens. It could be a total coincidence. Causation is whether it happened on purpose. So if you think one of the variables in the problem caused the other one to do something, we say it has causation. Now that's a little bit tricky of a concept, so the best way for me to explain it is to give you an example. So let's say I noticed that students who did their homework did well on their test. And let me give you an example of what that might look like as a scatter plot. So let's say I graphed test scores where this value down here was the number of homework assignments that you finished. And let's say for this particular module we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 assignments. And then over here was the test grade. And we'll start at the lowest, and let's say this was like a F down here, and then it works its way up to an A, F, D, C, B, A. So if I started plotting points on this, and the points looked kind of like this, then you could draw a best fit line through those that kind of looks like that. And you might say to yourself, that has what we call strong causation because it wasn't a coincidence. One of them caused the other. Doing well, like doing all your homework, causes you to do well on tests. So what we're saying is it's not a surprise that over here, maybe that person that did one homework assignment out of 8 got an F on the test. It's also not a surprise that this person up here, who did all 8 homework assignments, got an A on the test. So that's what we mean. There's a difference between correlation and causation. The graph definitely has correlation. I could see a best fit line there. But the correlation wasn't a coincidence. It was caused. One of the things was caused by the other. So that's what we're looking for today. We're going to look at some word problems where I'm going to ask you guys, first of all, is there any correlation? And then second, I'm going to follow up that up with a question, say, okay, now is there causation? Meaning, do you think it happened for a reason, or do you think it was just a coincidence that there was correlation? Now, let me show you an example of another example that ties in with this one. So let's say I did the exact same thing, and what I noticed is that the students that did well on the test were tall, and the students that didn't do well on the test were short. So I did the same thing. I did this graph like this, where I said, okay, here's our grades. This is F, D, C, B, and A. But then over here, this is the student's height. You know, this is 5 foot, this is 6 foot over here. And I noticed the same thing. You have these points where it's got correlation, where it's going up, 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 up. And we have a best fit line. Now for this one, I would say, yeah, there's correlation. I can see the best fit line, but there's definitely no causation there. You don't get a better score on your test because you're tall. You don't get a worse score because you're short. Those have nothing to do with each other. It was probably just a coincidence. In fact, in real life, it probably wouldn't happen. I would be shocked if I gave a test and found out that all my tall students got an A and all my short students got an F. It would be the weirdest coincidence ever. But you get the idea. If that did happen, it would be a complete coincidence, and we would say there's no causation there. There's nothing that causes a tall person to do well on a test, or a short person to not do well on the test. But on the last example I gave you, it definitely does. The person who does all their homework is probably more likely to do well on the test. The person that doesn't do any homework is likely to not do as well. So that's what we're looking for today. I'm going to give you some word problems. I'm going to ask you guys, first of all, is there correlation? I might ask you to draw a best fit line, but I'm going to add an extra question on the end where I'm going to say something like, okay, is there causation? Was this a coincidence or does this happen for a reason? And that's what you're looking for today.